Hi, this is Cajun, and it's time for the weekly conference call. We'll start with what's happening around the globe. We've got about 33.5 million people unemployed in the United States. And if you wanted to get figures from around the world, you can simply do a search for unemployment numbers around the world. This is an avalanche that has yet to hit global economies. But this brings up a question that a lot of people are having today. It is so relevant that The Economist put out an article titled "The Market versus the Real Economy." And there have been questions like, why is the stock market rising while the economy is headed for a crash? It was a very popular question on a few news forums. No one really knows why, for sure. There are all kinds of theories. What we do know, though, having been through a few market cycles and having executed in the traditional markets, the markets have a short memory and in many cases no memory at all. This happens when you've got new generations of traders that come in. They start their own funds. Some are running their own deals, and you've got a large group of people moving money around in the market that have never been through a downturn or a real bear market. And so they buy into dead cat bounces or catch falling knives or however you want to term it. They're propping the market up for what looks to be, as usually the case, some pretty savvy short sellers out there, very large ones on the traditional side. There's going to be an extended downturn as the economy recovers, and there are frozen credit markets, and there are companies that are shuttering operations and filing for bankruptcy. And these, we always talk about ripples. These kinds of ripples are going to impact just about every product line out there and every supply chain, information or otherwise. So what we can conclude, though, is that these are uncharted waters for everybody. So the scope is beyond systemic. It's global. And we're going to have to take this along with every other company out there a day at a time here as we monitor and collect data and may make new tactical decisions here. On the industry side, on the NLP and dataset industry side, Lawrence Berkeley National Lab released a VectorSpace NLP approach for infectious diseases, specifically and obviously focused on COVID-19. That's interesting. We're keeping an eye on that. And a few have asked, well, hey, why aren't they using VectorSpace technology or even referencing it? Well, we're in a very competitive field here. And if one group inside of an academic or government organization wants to move a similar technology forward, maybe it's involved with a grant they're getting. Maybe they have other goals related to patents. We don't know, or investors. We just know that and are happy that they are moving the VectorSpace method forward. And we will be in contact with them and collaborating in the future at some point, I'm sure. And to find out what's happening around the world with NLP and datasets and infectious diseases such as COVID-19, you can do a search for NLP and COVID-19. If you did that simple search, you'd find that there are thousands of efforts right now related to natural language processing and extracting relationships between all kinds of entities, drugs, genes, proteins, pathways, everything. So it would be a good idea to get familiar with that. It's growing exponentially every day. NLP applications in terms of COVID-19 and infectious diseases, life sciences in general. And there is also renewed, or I should say, increased interest in alternative data sets in our industry on the asset management and hedge fund side. There have been a few articles published this week that have been published to the channel, and if you get a chance, take a look at them. They're very telling. Bodes very well for us. On the crypto side, One of the most interesting things that's happened this week, aside from Bitcoin's halving, is the hedge fund pioneer Paul Tudor Jones saying that he is going to hold 1 to 2% of his assets in Bitcoin, and also saying that crypto, he used the word Bitcoin when he mentioned that his group believes it's going to be the best performing asset class. There are many in the crypto sphere that might wonder who this guy is, or why we're talking about him, or why he matters. What matters really is for the entire world to come into crypto, and that's going to happen based on traditionals leading the way. This is why we talk about institutions playing a big role as soon as things are liquid enough across the entire crypto markets. And when you take a blue blood like that, you've got a lot of other blue bloods that follow their lead. These are old guard Wall Street guys that have built their careers on establishing track records. And some have pointed out that Paul Tudor Jones' track record has not been so well, but that just is that's par for the course when you're talking about 30-year track records with Wall Street veterans and so forth, or longer than 30 years. So that's why it's significant. It's just another example of the paving the way of traditional and common folk to get into crypto. On the VectorSpace corporate side, we understand that the economic environment is causing difficulty, and it's requiring a lot more patience to operate in. A lot more patience for investors, a lot more patience for founders and team members, and a lot of other people as well, obviously. But some have said, well, it's been 3 years, and why haven't we closed the deal? We'd like to remind those that have mentioned that we have lived through a crypto downturn that's been about 1.5 years, and now we're in a global pandemic resulting in unprecedented economic downturn. Everything's shifted, and if you've ever run a company before, especially through a downturn, you're going to know that your friends are going to be knocking on your door, either looking for investment or looking for jobs. And you've got to be part of that 10% of those companies out there that's going to not turn into dust and to survive and thrive. And in order to do that, it takes time, and it takes calculated actions and decision-making ability. And that's what we're doing. And we're negotiating these waters the best way that we can, and in ways that we have in the past, where we've actually built upon our reputation and have created returns for our investors in the millions, at least. We've also likened what we do in terms of climbing Mount Everest. And climbing Mount Everest, it takes a while. It can take a matter of days, let's say. And for what we're doing, launching a company, a startup in the crypto space, AI, financial, and life sciences here, we are not only in a competitive space, but we've got a lot of other companies trying to climb Mount Everest as well here. And there's just been an earthquake with this global pandemic. And now we've got an avalanche headed our way. And we are preparing, battening down the hatches to make sure that we survive and thrive through this. And not only that, but prove to the world that we are recession-proof, but also have recession-proof products and can generate revenue in an environment like this. If we can prove that, we're really going to stand out and rise clear and far above the noise. So that's our focus. We are also on the corp strategy side, internal corporate strategy side. We're looking at putting together a special operations team involved in critical path deliverables and milestones. And this team will work very tightly, close-knit, and our intention is to make sure that we execute on not just opportunities we see, but we engage in some efficiency practices on the engineering side and on the product delivery side and on the customer onboarding side. So we're just tightening things up and making sure that we can weather this economic storm that's coming here. Part of this includes a focus on our graph visualizations, and the graph visualizations are key. They show how drug compounds connect based on hidden relationships to public companies or to other drug compounds or infectious diseases. Visually, you're able to click on a node and then receive a reference to several scientific papers that validate that relationship, for example. That kind of visualization we have been working on for the last 2 weeks. We're doing QA on it right now, and it's a perfect segue actually right into our engineering and product area, which includes getting things done quicker here. And everyone has been slowed down. You can talk to your friends and your relatives. Maybe you have too. Maybe you don't have your job anymore. Maybe you're trying to start a company or move a company forward. Maybe your partners are slow, your customers, it doesn't matter. Everybody's slow. And what that means is we do not want to be operating at the same speed as everyone else. We want to be operating faster than everyone else. And in order to do that, we are going to be interviewing a few new hires on the machine learning side to move vector processing forward in our vector processing pipeline, vector optimization pipeline. And that it will also include work on the GraphNet visualizations, QA on those so we can roll that out. And then on the engineering and product side, rolling out an API integration with another exchange. And that is a good segue into our customers, partners, and collaborators section. And on that note of API integrations with the new exchange, we are going to be talking with LCX, and many of you have heard of LCX. They represent about 15 other exchanges. They have a single order book. This will enable us to offer one-click basket execution. That means if a smart basket is generated based on a global event, you can have one big red button that says either short or go long, buy or sell. And there will be a high probability that every crypto in that basket will be executed. Of course, we're also offering traditional market baskets. So we're going to talk a little bit more about LCX this week as we hold a dialogue with them about constructing these smart baskets. It's going to be pretty straightforward as we have everything built, so it is really just a matter of getting the APIs to talk to one another or getting their platform to talk to our API. And that really is just a matter of a week maybe of development, a week of integration. I'm going to say a lot less than a week at this point because I know exactly how long this kind of a thing would take. And then maybe a few days of QA and testing to roll out some kind of commercial grade version here that we can MVP. So we'd probably be looking at 2 weeks on that rollout with LCX. We also have S&P Global, and we've mentioned this on our communication channels, a few of them, but we've been in talks with S&P Global, and they are interested in listing our data sets and publishing them and talking about them to the world. S&P Global, you should look them up if you don't know who they are. They have global reach, and they're heavily involved with the production of market research tools, obviously. They also are entering alternative data and alternative data sets, and they have rolled out an alternative data set marketplace, and they want us to be part of that. It's been rolled out for the last 6 weeks. This also provides access to Capital IQ, which is a database they have, which provides us with the richest form of public company profile data and not just for U.S. markets, but for international markets. This is the kind of data that we use to develop or extract or detect hidden relationships between public companies and drug compounds or global events, for example. So that's why S&P Global is very important for us. And they also have an entire PR division, obviously. So that is a machine. On the existing partners side, we've got still in the works, and we're going to remind everybody that we will be moving at the speed of our partners, not at the speed of a trader or at the speed that we want. We'll be moving at the speed of Amazon, at the speed of Bloomberg, at the speed of Microsoft, and at the speed of CERN. And we'll be acting when they act. So the ball's in their court right now, and it's going to be bounced back to our court. This might happen a couple of more times. We're trying to move this along as fast as we can. But you can see that we've got several irons in the fire here. And we are just as happy as S&P Global going out, talking about us to the public as we are Amazon at this point, or Bloomberg, or Microsoft. So CERN is an academic relationship, an academic partnership we have. And we'll be talking to the world about what we're doing with data sets that are generated from CERN's particle accelerator. So that's going to be very interesting news, and how we can augment their data sets and so forth. And how we can utilize some of the way that we calculate for vector similarity and in terms of calculating feature vector similarity between attributes associated to particles, new particles and old particles that result from a collision. On the PR and IR side, like we've mentioned, we've got S&P Global to be queued up. They are not just a partner for data sets. They are a PR partner. We've got Bloomberg queued up. They are not just an alternative data partner. They are a PR partner. And that goes the same for Amazon and Microsoft. We are also looking at a possible PR this week with new data. If not this week, next week. And this would be either with new data or S&P Global at this point. A lot of that does hinge on our graph visualization being completed. On the PR and IR side, it's nice to talk to the public about reaching your KPIs, your key performance indicators, or some kind of metrics. And in our case, it would be global usage statistics based on API usage, based on site usage, based on dataset builder usage, dataset generation. And we'll be providing those kinds of statistics on our live, what would be similar to our live build log. So you can constantly see people using these datasets or generating new ones based on features they're choosing. If they opt in for public viewing of that kind of data. On the investment club side, we are going to be starting the investment club after two things. A, we reach a certain amount of capital, and B, after we have one of our partners here go ahead and talk to the world about us first. Then we'll be talking to the world about our investment club. On the exchanges side, same deal, after our first partner announcement, with the exception of a possibility of being listed on LCX before a larger tier exchange. Any others would be after a partner announcement. And we'd also like to mention that time is on our side here. As the economy implodes, there's going to be better deals, not just on the real estate side or on the asset side in some cases, but on the exchanges side, on the listing side, and on the legal fees side too. And that's a factor here. We just wanted to mention that. On the strategy side, it's not just about COVID-19. It's about all infectious diseases. It's about DNA repair. It's about telomerase. It's about all kinds of things related to life sciences, genes, drugs, diseases, proteins, pathways, plant compounds, you name it. This is the business we're in on the life sciences side. We have a focus on COVID-19, but we are going to be opening up our data set generator, our data set builder, the ability to generate data sets to all infectious diseases, all infectious disease threats, and then all diseases and drug compounds that could possibly be repurposed. We'll also have a focus on epigenomics, which is a very important area, and the microbiome, as mentioned earlier in calls. All things hinge on the QA process surrounding the new graph visualization that we have. I just want to mention that one more time here, because whether it's the biosciences side or the financial side, the graph visualization, being able to visualize relationships, having that code in place, having it in the dataset toolkit, having a link straight to our site that shows the visualization that you can play with in action, like we do now for that cell gene and Bristol-Myers Squibb example on the financial side only. We want to have that available on the biosciences side for drug compounds connecting to drug compounds, and on the financial side, drug compounds connecting to pharma, publicly traded pharma companies. So, on another note, we want to get our data sets integrated into educational programs like Amazon's AWS certification program for AI and machine learning, or Microsoft's Azure certification program for AI and machine learning. They all require data sets. We want every organization out there in the world to be using and training with our data sets. That's one of our goals. We've had that goal for a long time. We haven't talked about it. That's been in our strategic pipeline, and you'll find that we don't talk about everything in our strategic pipeline. But that is one goal of ours. Approaching things from the educational system has proven to work time and again for lots of different strategies and companies, including Facebook and Blackboard and a bunch of other companies, especially today, now that everything is online. Finally, we just have one announcement to make. We are looking for a director of operations and a general manager and a project manager. So DM if you have any leads. Thanks for your time and joining, and we'll see you online. Bye-bye.